Welcome to the Veronica Edwards Show, where we have fun financial conversations that everyone listening can apply to their personal and professional life. I'm your host, Veronica Edwards, CPA, and today we are back, season 6, completely independent, looking for some more sponsors, but sponsored by Balance Virtually LLC, my accounting and consulting business. So as always, I want to thank the V team. We are growing to now over 12,000 views. I'm so excited. We also have a goal this season to reach 100 subscribers. Last I checked, we're in the 60s. So either way, I'm elated. I did not realize people would even watch. So now I'm just competitive and I'm like, let's do it. Let's get more. So we're also looking for amazing sponsors to partner with us. If you'd like to support the show, whether as a sponsor, guest, or loyal listener, like and subscribe to the page and head over to balancevirtually.com or veronicaedwards.buzzsprout.com because you can see seasons 1 through 4. Well, not see, you can listen to seasons 1 through 4 on Buzzsprout, but you can also see and hear season 5 and season 6. So I'm super excited today. One, I have on my Sticking with the Pig shirt because that was my first job. I'm in South Carolina, Piggly Wiggly, Mr. K. Ask somebody about it. But I'm excited to welcome my friend, Johanna Haggarty. She's the owner and founder of Biz Hero, a marketing and development company that provides coaching, consulting, and fractional services to help businesses grow and thrive. Johanna is not only a powerhouse entrepreneur, she's also a grant writer, copywriter, and all-around creative strategist, helping small business owners like myself turn their dreams into reality. So you can learn more about her amazing work at www.bizherohq.com, but we will definitely talk more about that. But welcome to the show, friend.
Yay! I'm so happy to be here, Veronica.
Yes. We were already talking about, okay, what are all the things that we're going to do? Because for those that follow me and Johanna, we used to have a show called Boss Babes, like a little
That's
segment.
right.
And Johanna had her show and I had my show on Biz Radio. So I love that you have Biz Hero
I
because I
know.
remember Art Hero.
Yes. Yeah, I was going to talk a little bit about my story and how it has transitioned from Art Hero to Biz Hero for sure.
Yes. So we have, I think when we first met, we were like, wait a minute. We're both on Biz Radio. We both coach for Mountain BizWorks. You know, like we had a lot of stuff in common. We knew a lot
Yeah.
of people. Joanna always like tells me, you should know this one. You should know that one. I'm like, girl, you're way more popular and cool than me. I want to be like Joanna when I grow up.
Networked, not cool.
Well, tell everybody that may not have listened to any of the prior things a little bit about yourself, your journey, how you got to Asheville, and definitely how did Biz Hero come to life from Art Hero?
Wow, no big feet or questions to answer, is it? Right?
No,
So, I'm actually born and raised North Carolinian. I've only ever lived in North Carolina and New Zealand. It's always a really fun stat to say.
Oh,
And my dad's actually from Asheville. So I went to school down by the coast. I grew up in Raleigh area and I always kind of thought Asheville would be where I ended up. And I followed through with that. Who thinks that they want to do something in high school and then actually follows through? I don't know, but I did.
right.
And so that was 16, 17 years ago. And I actually had a psychology degree and I worked in hospitals and I did mental health work when I first got here. So I was working with youth and families and I was in and out of schools and really helping people understand the psychological pain of growth and trauma and dealing with family life and things. And I really loved that. But in my off time, I was very entrenched in the creative scene. I worked at
Mm.
festivals. I started helping up opening Asheville Music Hall in One Stop early on in my career here
Oh,
in Asheville.
wow.
Just kind of stumbled in. And a lot of that was because my creative outlets allowed me to find safety. I'm a very
Mm.
introverted person, which most people, when I say that, they're like, no, you're not, whatever. And I'm like,
No.
whatever, you don't know me. But what I mean by that is like my resource well kind of drains quickly. I love intimate, deep connections. But again, being really in the world was a bit tough. So as a young kid, I sang and danced and performed, and that was kind of this safety for me. So when I moved to Asheville, I kept that world and really enjoyed engaging in that. And then I found myself working part time at the Arts Council at the time and
Huh.
started doing education for artists, business education. And most people don't ever even think of that business education for artists. It almost doesn't really exist in our day and age.
Yeah.
And there was a light bulb moment helping creatives learn business foundations so that they could thrive and be successful and bring
Mm,
beauty into this world, and necessary products and mission driven businesses and healing opportunities just
I love it.
really clicked for me. And so I
Yeah.
kind of stumbled for years like, what does this mean for me? How do I kind of grow into that? So that's where my first business, which was an event production company, this is before you and I ever even met each other. So I started throwing events, fundraiser events. It was a nonprofit. So I learned a lot about building
Oh, I didn't
nonprofits.
know it was a nonprofit.
Yeah, it was interesting to really try that model and to really, step into the mentality of what a lot of nonprofits think about. They think
Mhm,
about, okay, where are the grants? Where are the sponsorships? Where's that extra funding? And
mhm.
what I realized kind of after that business had a rained out event, then the pandemic happened, which event production wasn't really a thing in the
Right.
pandemic. I realized that the nonprofit model was something that was almost limiting my mindset. Was that I was sort of waiting for people to help fund the business, where
Mhm.
instead I was like, man, I need to figure out how to make this sustainable.
Yes.
So, out of my first failed business is what came Art Hero. And that was supposed to be laying the foundations for other creatives to get the business education they need so they
Mhm.
can be successful. And so I started doing that. And again, it was pandemic. I was having health issues personally, and I lost my mom. And as you know,
So
Veronica, she was
sorry.
like one of my best friends. We were really
Yes.
close. And that grief stage really needed me to say, my business is going to go on the back burner for a minute. And so it did. I still had
Absolutely.
a couple amazing clients I was working with and people I was helping in the background with grants and getting funding and contracts, and ended up taking a full-time role in renewable energy and helped marketing and development for solar, which was
That sounds really rich.
it was really, really fascinating. And when you're working with a business that needs, $100 million in qualified leads in a year, that's no joke, right?
Yeah.
You really
Yeah.
have to think very strategically. You have to really bring a very good strategy to play. And so that was another light bulb moment where I was like, I've always loved my creatives and my healers, but I've also always helped tech entrepreneurs and renewable energy and all of these
Yes.
other worlds that I was like, I feel like Art Hero is missing part of it.
Mhm.
So this is where Biz Hero has kind of sprouted from. It's technically a DBA under Art Hero. So everything I still do exists under Art Hero. It's for the creatives always and will always be. But
Yes.
Biz Hero really opens the breadth to say, I can help any mission driven type of business or nonprofit really focus
Mhm.
on the strategy they need. And we do that through coaching, consulting, fractional work. We really can step in kind of at any stage of the ladder and help. So that's the long and
Ooh.
short of it, I think.
Ooh, I love all that. The biggest jewel that I heard out of all of this, you're a seasoned business owner, but you knew when to pivot.
Yes.
And you knew that you were kind of pigeonholing yourself just to artists. You're like, I could do this for everyone,
Yeah.
still have their little, you know, click, but this
Yes.
is for everyone because that's kind of like the light bulb moment when people are like, maybe I can do virtual. Maybe I
Yeah.
can go online. I'm here in Somerville, South Carolina. I can still do this and not have to worry about, my schedule stopping the cash. And
Yeah.
so good for you. Very smart. And I actually like the name. I like the name.
It's pretty fun, right? And for me, the core concept around Biz Hero is that we all have a mission, even your business, right? Your
Hmm.
business
Hmm.
is about empowering and educating people around finances. What an
Yes.
empowering thing. You've seen the difference when someone has that knowledge and when they don't. And so
Yes.
Biz Hero is more kind of this idea of activating kind of the superhero within you, right? Like it's
Ooh.
not like, oh, a radioactive spider bit you and all of a sudden you have cool powers. It's like, no, it's been in you forever. And we're just kind of teasing it out. And what is their superpower? And then where are their Achilles heels? So we can build
Mhm.
the business around what they do well and they can stay in their zone of genius. And then they have the support systems in the areas that aren't their strengths per se.
Yeah. So with Biz Hero, who is your ideal client? Because I had to learn too with my business. I can definitely coach folks through Mountain BizWorks. As we know, sometimes they don't have much funding because they're just
Yeah.
getting started. So they're not necessarily my ideal. I'll work with them, but my ideal typically is you've already been in business 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
You have 6 figures in revenue. Just because I know when you have that cash flow, you can afford and you need all of
Exactly.
this support. So I would love for those listening for you to share about who's your ideal client?
I love that. Okay, so we're in kind of early launch phase with Biz Hero. So as of right now, we have kind of the higher level tier services for businesses. Eventually, we're going to be able to help those super startup or
Right.
pre-idea stage. But right now, we really kind of separate it into three buckets. You can be a founder, right? So you're kind of that solopreneur doing it yourself. You probably should have made at least 50,000 in a year to really
Correct.
be ready to start looking at the strategy of things. If you haven't yet, you may not have enough data to even know how to really look at things strategically. So,
Right.
yeah, usually I say that's where we start there. For businesses, it's usually more like a quarter of a million that they've made yearly, that they're doing
Mhm.
that for a couple
Mhm.
years. You could be as new as I would say 2 years for us to kind of really come in and help them. But we have worked with businesses that go up to almost 30 million. So there's a pretty wide range
Okay.
of people. I know, right? There's a pretty
Yes.
wide range. But what's fascinating there, Veronica, is 9 times out of 10, some of the similar problems at the $250,000 a year business are still there if you haven't addressed them when they're
Mhm.
a
Mhm.
13, $14 million business. And
So
then
glad you
you're
said that.
really losing money and energy
Yes.
and resources and sustainability. So it's actually more detrimental if you haven't kind of done that,
Mhm.
at that stage. So it's really important if you're a multi-million dollar company and you haven't really looked at your systems and strategies. I worked with a company that was 13 years old that had never really set up budgeting for marketing, right? Some basic things that
You're
were
like, "What?"
necessary, right? And I was like, let's get strategic. I need to be able to know what the budget is before we know how we're going
Mhm.
to sell and spend and create marketing initiatives. So that's the business bucket. And then we also have the nonprofit bucket where usually if you've made over $100,000, for a couple years, then you're in a good place there too. Because
Mhm.
again, with nonprofits, that $100,000 has to really stretch and has to be used really resourcefully
Yes.
and wise. And that could be, okay, we've gotten some great grants that have gotten us stabilized, or that could be reoccurring revenue, right? It doesn't really matter for me where we are because if it's the grant world that you've used to anchor yourself, we'll probably pivot into some fee for services or some other things that help stabilize the org as well. So yeah, those are the three buckets we primarily help in. And again, the overarching bucket is kind of this mission driven org. Do you want to see the world be better? Do you think there's a need that will make
Mhm.
things better? That's really where we sit. So, yeah, that's a pretty wide breadth of people, isn't that?
Yes. But I love that you still are leaving some space for us small, business owners and those that are listening. But again, you're covering the whole spectrum, which is amazing. So, with all your experience, I always like some tips. So, I would love for you to share what's like one of the biggest mistakes that you see, like you said, big businesses, small businesses make when it comes to marketing themselves or their brand. Oh,
I will say one of my go-to mistakes is always misunderstanding marketing tactics like using social media and marketing strategy, like
mm,
connecting with an audience or sharing authority or becoming a thought leader, right? So when most people kind of get in this rabbit hole, I can't tell you how many people come to me the first coaching session or the first strategy meeting and say, well, we've been posting and it's not working. Or we haven't been posting and we know we need to. And I'm like, before we even make that decision, what is the goal, right? What's our goal right now? Are we
that
making
part.
money? Are we trying to get new clients in the door? Are we getting awareness for funders? Like, what is our goal even? And then
Mhm.
let's find the right marketing tactics that work for that. And I'm a big fan of using social media in the right way. But I
Mhm.
also have people who find it unappealing or feel that the salesy side can really come out in that world. And that's where I
Mhm.
want them to stop looking at, I have to do it this way and
Right.
start thinking, how do I build a mission aligned business? And that's the complete difference for me. So, yeah, it's not like I hate on
Mm.
social media exactly, but it's like, that doesn't mean that you have a marketing strategy.
Yes. And, Biz Hero will be helping the Veronica Edwards Show. We were just talking about that with our marketing strategy because I am that person. I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I'm posting," or "We do this," or "We have that." But, my team with Aaron and Jolly, they really are getting deep into the strategy, and I was like, "Oh, this would be good to add your expertise to that." That's
Yeah.
awesome. I really think that's a game changer for folks, to have a strategy, and this is gonna air in November. And on the accounting side, I always tell people this is the time to be tax planning.
Yes.
You only have 2 months left in the year. You should have a pretty good idea with 10 months of actuals, 2 months of an estimate, what you might owe April or March the
Yeah.
15th, depending on your entity structure. So I love that that's something that you can also do for marketing.
And it's kind of the same thing, right? So marketing is really, again, like the bailiwick. It's what I dive the deepest into, especially coming from a psychology background.
Uh-huh.
It's what got me into business. But really, what's really cool is Biz Hero actually has a business assessment. It's the Biz
Mm.
Hero Mission Critical Method. So fun,
Oh,
right? It's like
spill
a
that tea.
yeah,
Yes.
right. Blasting off to space with it, right? And so really again understanding that there's all these different areas of business, right? There's the admin, there's operations, there's
Hmm.
communications, which I think is both external marketing and internal brand alignment,
Correct.
right? Then there's development, the business planning, the R&D, the KPI tracking. And so our mission critical method allows us to assess every area of business. And so again, at the end of year, when you're looking at finances, you should be looking at every area too.
Hmm.
Okay. What
Hmm.
are those products and services? How many of them did we sell? Not just the revenue side of it, right?
Correct.
What's working in the marketing world? And again, understanding the high level KPIs to track in each one of those buckets
Hmm.
becomes invaluable because I think one of the things that I think sets me apart from other strategists is I think sometimes there's these plans that are really robust, but people can't digest them. So they get this
Right.
amazing plan. They're like, I don't understand what this means. I don't know how to execute it. That's what I like to do is I kind of like to demystify what this big
Ooh,
picture, right?
demystify.
Business is confusing and it needs
It is.
demystifying. And so if you have a plan that says, okay, this bucket of business includes finance and HR, and here's the four things to track there to
Right.
assess the efficacy based off your goals. Like there's ways to really streamline so that every plan I've ever given to somebody, they look at and they're like, I get it. And it's mine and it's my business. It's not
Yes.
some talking to them or talking at them or copy pasting from
Mhm.
other things. A lot of what we do is customization. I get into your business and I look at you specifically,
Yes.
so that's really, I think, the important part too. But I totally agree. End of year wrap up and new year starting, like I'm working
Mhm.
on a blog kind of explaining how they can do that from a larger perspective right now. So,
Ooh, I would love that. And I definitely, before you go, we have to talk grants. Joanne and I met recently. I'm like, wait a minute, you do grant writing? I'm like, always. I'm like, can you write one for an African American woman that has a son that I need to pay for his tuition? So let's talk grants because that's another superpower of yours.
mhm,
I usually, again, with the advice, just the tips,
yeah.
how does a for profit as well as a nonprofit position themselves for grant funding? Like, what are the things
Mhm.
that they should be doing that would be attractive to someone, a funder?
I love that. The first thing I will say is as a for profit business, you are going to have a lot less grant options. I think sometimes there's a big misunderstanding that, oh, there's funding. And I'm not saying there isn't. It's usually more specific. Okay, there's a Helene grant right now for profit
Got it.
businesses going
Got
through
it.
BizWorks,
Yep.
right? There's specific things. So finding for profit grants is its own thing. The other thing I'll say for profits is finding grants for operating capital is really tiny. It like almost doesn't exist, right? Again, not
Oh,
saying it
wow.
doesn't. It's just one of the smallest options you'll have. So, if that's your need, you may actually be better served as a for profit working with a business coach and looking at your products and services. So, that's where I
Right.
want to like mention that. Now, for a for profit who maybe is trying to grow a mission driven wing or something like that,
Mhm.
one of your best options is probably to find a fiscal sponsor. So
I
a
was just gonna say
nonprofit,
that.
exactly, right? And we love Eagle Market Street in local Western North Carolina is like a huge, fiscal sponsor. She works with several of my for-profit clients, so we can apply for grants under her. They get some funding for that. We get to kind of connect with them. So that's an amazing resource. Like if you really think that growing your business through grants is one of the wings in your for-profit, find a fiscal sponsor. As
So,
an oh,
Joanna,
go
can
ahead.
you formally define that? Because I think some people don't even, you say, oh, a fiscal sponsor. They might just think, have someone that you know that's a nonprofit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Can you
It's
break down just
it's
a
a
little bit?
formalized relationship for sure. And I will say every organization's a little different. I think a lot of the ones we work with, it's as simple as a little bit of a contract agreement, what the kind of fees are for when you
Mhm.
apply for things like that. But it is a formalized relationship that says, yes, we will officially be able to carry that money money and put it in our bank account and pass it through to you. And we will be able to account for some of that in our records and stuff. You probably know that world better than I do, Veronica.
A little bit, but I've never seen, I'm curious on the applications. I say if I'm applying for a grant and I have a fiscal sponsor, is it Balance virtually applying or is it the fiscal sponsor applying?
That is a great question. It really actually does
I
depend
know.
on the funder. They'll kind of be specific, and some funders will not receive fiscal sponsors, period. So that's an
Right.
important thing. Look, the next layer for profit or nonprofit, look at the eligibility requirements, look at the things they will fund, look at the things they won't fund, and really assess your business. You don't have to try and squeeze your org
Mhm,
into what it is
mhm.
they want. If it's not a fit, it's not a fit, right? So
Right.
that's a really important thing. Don't waste your time trying to convince a grant funder that you can do something you haven't done if it's really not the direction of where you want to go. So that's the other thing, is really assessing a grant is important. And then the
Mhm.
last big tip I will say is get into the grant portal, because a lot of these places will not give you a list of all the questions. So get in the grant portal, open up a Word doc, copy paste every question into your doc. I know that that is tedious and
Ooh,
painstaking, and some of them, again, will give you, all the questions and things, but work on your grant in a comprehensive doc together, because a
that
lot of
sounds
times
good.
what I saw people when I first started helping, they're just filling out a question in there, and then there's 4 pages later they're answering the same question but they give different answers. It's just not going to work. So if you can
Right.
step back, get it all in one place, really assess what are the questions and answers. And I guess the final tip I'll say is use their language, right? If you feel like
Mhm.
you're a match and you feel like that what they're saying, they want to support X, Y, and Z, and that's exactly what you do, use their language so they really see that you're thinking about how you strategically align. I
Ooh,
know, I
so
got more
many
tips too. I was like, I could
jewels.
keep going.
Mm-mm,
Okay, look, the
mm-mm.
last thing I'll say is make sure that if you are going to get a grant, that you are prepared to track what you need to, so that by the end of the grant, you aren't scrambling or making numbers up. You want
Right.
real factual data and information that they can use. That is almost always why a grantor is giving you money.
Yes.
So
Yes.
figure that part out, right? If it says we're going to have X amount of volunteers, start a simple little volunteer sheet. It doesn't have to be
Yes.
complicated, but
Yep.
plan for that beforehand. And sometimes just work with an expert is the best, right? You don't always have to do that on your own. I've worked with many for profit nonprofits. We've gotten them from $0 to their first 3-year, $80,000 reoccurring grants. I mean,
Mm.
there's a lot of things that we can do. And the positioning part, as you mentioned too, you may not want to go for $100,000 grant if you've only made $10,000 in a year, right? That may not be where you are ready to step into. So, positioning yourself for funders also means, can I manage the amount of money they have or the program? Do I have
Mm.
proof that I can show them will be responsible with that income? And that can come
Right.
in many, many ways.
Yes. Oh, we have to have a whole episode on
Girl, I'll get
grants
deep with grants.
funding. I love it. I got excited listening to it. But before we wrap, how do people get in contact with you, Joanna, if they want your services for Biz Hero?
Yeah, I think the easiest thing right now is to check out our website, the HQ, the headquarters, as we call it, bizherohq.com. We've got contact forms. We've got places you can email, places you can purchase a $1,500 simple little strategic assessment for your business. So
Hmm.
within a week, you can have a pretty clear snapshot of where we think some of those buckets and areas of business need attention. So yeah, we're always there, and we're going to start growing our socials more. So check us out on those as well.
I love it. And we had a CPA chat, and our resident CPA, Elena Anthony, her tax planning assessment is 2,500. So I feel like your marketing is very reasonable. I tell folks all the time, peanut butter jelly, spread that over 12 months. It's worth it. Like we spend way more money on other things. Yours
Absolutely.
and it's gonna really set you apart. Like I'm really, we were just joking now, like I can't change my glasses. I've built a brand with the glass, and that's how it should be.
Yes.
Joanna, you were out with me, and remember, I ran into a client where I only saw my line. He goes, "I will always know you from those glasses,"
It's
and I was
perfect.
like, "That could be good, or that could be a problem if I'm trying to
Yeah.
creep." But
Well, now you know when you
Just
go
kidding.
out for friends, you don't wear the red glasses,
Yeah,
and when you're going out for
yes.
biz. And that's another thing that's really valuable for when you're building a business brand, right? I'm an introvert, so I like a little bit of space sometimes. So I think
Yes.
we can do that. The business can stand on branding, and you as a person can separate yourself from those a little bit too.
Mm, you're such a good coach. A good talk all
Girl,
day.
love
Joanna.
it.
Thank you so much. And this won't be your last time. We're going to be coming up with some type of segment
Love that.
that we could have recurring with Miss Joanna. And what about all your handles? We'll put them below, but um,
I'm
I'm so
still
old.
figuring all that
Handles.
out. I know. I'm still figuring it
Mm.
out. I know that right now I'm Biz Hero JPH on Instagram, and that's where I am sharing most of the content.
Okay.
We do have a Biz Hero Instagram. We're just kind of slowly working it through as someone who is co-founding the biz. I didn't even mention my co-founder this time. It's really nice to not feel like I'm doing it all alone. And I also know I'm the one who kind of needs to be the face right now. So we're just kind of dabbling. We
And
haven't
what is the
written.
name of your co-founder?
I know, right? Mr. Kent Spillman.
Ah, I love Kent. Hey,
He's
Kent.
unbelievable. A drummer, professional drummer of 16 years, like
Yes.
truly has sold everything from like fire department sponsorships to cell phones. He has a
He
minor in
paints.
business. He's an amazing painter. I mean, truly, really brings kind of the type A to my type B side and vice
Yes.
versa, right? We just really balance each other, and it's been really fun to have him join the business. But yeah, we haven't worked our marketing strategy yet. So I would say 2026 I'll be more clear on all the handles and what our
Yes.
marketing channels are. But right now I'm so busy helping clients.
Right. And take note, viewers, like you're not going to get pushed like, hey, tell us about this. You're like, not ready yet. We're there. And that's okay. I think people
Yes.
feel like when they start their business, and I know you know this as a coach, I have to have my logo. I have to have this. I'm like,
Yes.
just start it.
Yes.
If you have a customer or you have a need, people want to pay for your services, just let it go.
Yeah, there's a
But
fine line of like putting things together well and being presented well and getting started. And, it's interesting. All of my clients typically are lean to one side. So if you lean to the like paralyzed, don't move, yeah, get
mhm.
started. If you lean to the like, I slap everything up, that's where you get to think a little more strategically. And that's where you can just, again, kind of challenge yourself to think about other ways of doing it.
Yes. Well, Joanna's at the end of the show. I don't want you to go.
I know. We could just keep going. But yes, it's
I
been so much fun.
know. Well, you are the definition of a boss babe. And you're so inspiring and creative and unstoppable. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I want to thank the V team, everyone listening, watching the Veronica Edwards Show. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and Buzzsprout. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere where you can listen to things. So until next time, stay balanced and financially savvy.